In Elbaf, the enemies of the Straw Hats have already been revealed, and they are the Holy Knights. Zoro's opponent has also appeared, Shamrock Figerland, the swordsman and leader of the group of knights, wielding the most insane sword shown so far. So if you want to know all about this and much more, stick with me, because that's exactly what I'm going to show you now. In the Elbaf arc, we meet Shamrock Figerland, a swordsman of the Holy Knights with simply terrifying power. He's not just any villain, he's a master of the sword. And of course, just by saying that, we immediately think of Zoro, the one who aims to be the greatest swordsman in the world and has been facing every swordsman that crosses his path. And surely, it won't be any different with Shamrock. The reason I believe Zoro will face him is because this battle fits perfectly into Zoro's journey to surpass Dracule Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. So let's build this entire line of reasoning, and by the end of this video, you'll definitely believe it too. To understand why Zoro needs Shamrock, we need to go back to the beginning, to the heart of who he truly is. As a child, Zoro was a boy who trained to be a swordsman in Shimotsuki village. He was a stubborn kid who challenged Kuina, his friend and main rival. He challenged her in endless duels, but despite his best efforts, he always lost. Yet Zoro and Kuina shared a dream to become the world's greatest swordsman. But Kuina believed that, because she was a woman, she would never get there. Zoro disagreed with that. He believed only strength mattered. The two even made a promise to one day fulfill that dream. However, when Kuina tragically died, Zoro made another promise. He would carry both of their dreams and take her sword, Wado Ichimonji, to the very top. That vow is what drives Zoro. It's what makes him overcome every hardship in his path and pushes him forward to become the world's greatest swordsman. Years later, in the Bharati arc, Zoro faced Mihawk for the first time. That moment was a harsh reality check for him, as he was utterly defeated with a single slash that nearly cost him his life. But even as he fell, he looked Mihawk in the eyes and swore, "I will never lose again, not until I defeat you." Since then, every battle has been a step on the staircase leading to Mihawk. He took down Dazbones in Alabasta, fought the zombie of Ryuma in Thriller Bark, and humiliated King in Wano, acquiring Enma, the sword that unleashed his true power. But even now, despite being stronger than ever, and having overcome countless obstacles, Mihawk is still at a level Zoro has not yet reached. Zoro needs opponents who will force him to grow even more. Shamrock, with his sword and title of Holy Knight, is exactly the kind of challenge that could push Zoro to a new level, especially on an island where legends are born in battle. So now, let's dive into the real evidence and clues that prove Zoro will indeed face Shamrock Figerland. Shamrock appears in chapter 1137 as one of the Holy Knights, a group that answers directly to the celestial dragons and the world government. He isn't just a soldier, he's an elite swordsman wielding a blade that holds a power unlike almost anything we've seen before. On top of that, he is the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, meaning he is their leader. That alone proves he is on an incredibly high level, perfect to test someone like Zoro, who lives for near impossible duels. But there's more. The Vivra card databook, which contains official details about characters, reveals that Mihawk is waiting for a swordsman capable of surpassing even Shanks the Red-Haired. We know Mihawk and Shanks were rivals in the past, their duels echoing across the Grand Line. But after Shanks lost his arm, Mihawk no longer had any interest in fighting him. According to the databook, Mihawk now waits for another swordsman, one who can exceed Shanks. And of course we know Zoro will never fight Shanks directly, since Shanks isn't an enemy of the Straw Hats. But even so, there's still a way for Zoro to prove he's surpassed Shanks without battling him head-on, by defeating his twin brother, Shamrock Figerland. As a Figerland, Shamrock undoubtedly shares the same swordsmanship talent that Shanks possesses. Their twins after all. Maybe his sword style is more aggressive or technical, but the fact remains, he's a worthy opponent. Zoro's growth has always been marked by duels against swordsmen who push him beyond his limits. In Alabasta, he cut through Dazbone's steel by learning to sense the breath of all things. In Eni's lobby, he faced Kaku. In Thriller Bark, he defeated the legendary Ryuma, gaining the sword Shusui. And in Wano, he overcame King, a monster who combined flames and swordsmanship, unlocking Conqueror's Haki for the first time. Each of these fights was a step on the staircase leading to Mihawk. But now, in the final saga, the challenges must be even greater. Shamrock isn't just a swordsman, he's a symbol of the world government's power. He might be on the same level as an admiral, or perhaps even higher, which makes him essential for Zoro's next evolution. But of course, there's one major issue with this theory. We've already seen that Shamrock left Elbaf, as he was ordered to return, because Merijoa required his presence. So how would he return to fight Zoro in Elbaf? The truth is, there are several explanations, and all of them make sense within the story. If Zoro defeats him, it would be like sending a message to Mihawk that Zoro is getting closer. that he's the swordsman Mihawk has been waiting for. On top of all that, even Shamrock's sword itself is a huge hint that Zoro is truly meant to face him in this arc. Shamrock wields a saber that has eaten a mythical zone-type devil fruit, granting it the power to transform into the legendary Cerberus. The blade can morph into a three-headed dog, and since it's a sword, Cerberus can also manifest massive blades projecting from each of its three mouths. In other words, Shamrock can fight using three swords at once. That immediately connects with Zoro, who fights using his Santoryu the three-sword style. Additionally, in Wano, Zoro earned the title King of Hell, and in Greek mythology, Cerberus is the guardian of the underworld, the one who controls the souls that enter and prevents any from leaving. So not only do both Zoro and Shamrock wield three blades, but Shamrock's monstrous sword makes him the ideal opponent to test Zoro's current abilities. First, the world government is determined to take control of Elbaf. This island isn't just any place. It's home to giant warriors, holds resources like the Adam Tree, and has a strategic position in the New World. They've already sent Shamrock, Saint Killingham, Saint Shepherd Summers, and Gunko there, but their plan is falling apart, with Luffy, Loki, and the giants resisting fiercely. The world government isn't going to give up, and Shamrock, as one of the strongest Holy Knights, would be the obvious choice to return and face off against the Straw Hats and the giants. On top of that, Shamrock can use the Abyss to move, which is essentially a form of teleportation through a magic circle. In other words, he could return to Elbaf in mere seconds, if necessary. We've also seen from the silhouettes that there are 9 Holy Knights in total, which would make for a perfect matchup against the Straw Hats, who currently number 10. Oda has a special talent for reintroducing villains in the same arc, building tension until the climactic moment. Shamrock leaving Elbaf only to return with reinforcements is exactly the kind of dramatic twist Oda loves to use. And let's not forget Elbaf is a long arc, likely to continue for over 30 more chapters, just like Wano. So there's still plenty of time for Shamrock to make a return, potentially with an even greater impact like an entire fleet, or even his fellow Holy Knight comrades. So even though Shamrock was summoned to Marijoa to deal with issues like the famine caused by the Revolutionary Army, Elbaf remains a critical location for the world government. Abandoning the island would be a major mistake. With Luffy, Loki, and the giants resisting, Shamrock has every reason to come back. Oda would never let a villain as special as Shamrock disappear without a larger purpose. Of course, there are still some lingering doubts about this possible battle. For example, some might argue that Shamrock should be Luffy's opponent, not Zoro's, since Shamrock is the captain of the Holy Knights, and Luffy is the captain of the Straw Hats. And I understand that logic. A fight between Luffy and Shamrock would be epic, especially given his connection to Shanks, and the impact of battling someone that powerful. Luffy has already mentioned he plans to defeat Shanks someday, and fighting his twin brother. And for that reason, there's a strong chance that Luffy will indeed face Shamrock in Elbaf. But that doesn't disqualify the possibility of Zoro also facing him. Oda has already used this kind of structure before. In Egghead, Luffy initially fought Rob Lucci, which seemed like a rematch. But of course with his Gear 5, Luffy was far stronger, and defeated the now CP0 agent with ease. The real fight against Rob Lucci came later when Zoro faced him. That battle was much more balanced, with both pushing their limits. Even though Zoro won, he didn't walk away unscathed. With Shamrock, things could follow a similar pattern. An explosive initial clash with Luffy, something impactful, but not decisive. And in the end, the true sword duel would be left for Zoro, who would finally bring down the villain. Besides, Elbaf isn't just any arc, it's a key piece in the final saga of One Piece. In chapter 1130, we discovered that the island has been resisting the world government for centuries. It holds secrets like the 3,000-year-old science facility that Frankie and Lilith are exploring, and even lost history that the world government is desperately trying to erase. For Zoro, this is the moment to shine, not just as a swordsman, but as a pillar of the Straw Hat crew in the war that's approaching. Shamrock, as a Holy Knight, is a symbol of the final enemy, the world government itself. And defeating him wouldn't just be a personal victory for Zoro. It would be showing that the Straw Hats can face anything, even the so-called gods of Mary Joys. In chapter 1140, Shamrock orchestrates a cruel plan alongside Killingham and Summers, kidnapping the children of Elbaf and using them to create monsters. This act stands in complete opposition to Zoro's values, who has always protected the weak, just like we saw with Yasui and Wano. A battle against Shamrock would be more than just a clash of strength. It would be a clash of ideals. Zoro's belief in freedom and loyalty would go head-to-head with the tyranny of the world government, all happening in the heart of Elbaf. So beyond being another step toward reaching Mihawk by facing a living sword merged with a mythical creature, Zoro would also be proving that his skills surpass even the nobles and elite forces of the world government. A major leap forward in his journey to become the world's greatest swordsman. And well guys, there's really a strong possibility that Shamrock will return to Elbaf. And since Since he's a swordsman with a completely unique weapon, the perfect opponent for him would be Zoro, who's always battled against bizarre and powerful enemies. Fighting against a sword that ate a mythical Zoan fruit would be an incredible challenge. So thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.